Yeah, I realized I had the microphone off when I started this whole thing. So what I am using now are paint markers. These are Posca paint markers. They're my favorite paint markers. They're just acrylic paint markers, so they are permanent. They do blend. You can blend them together a little bit. And there's lots of different brands. I use Posca, and they come in medium tip, with like the one I just used. They come in big, fat ones, even fatter than that. They come in a little bit finer point sizes. All different sizes, and I like to use these, but there's also cheaper ones. I bought these. These are Art Ship Design. They are these were like $20 or something for this giant pack. It's got big sizes and small sizes. This kind is called Shuttle Art. These are all acrylic paint markers, different kinds. I prefer the Posca. I got this big set of markers on Amazon that comes with all main colors, and I like to organize them from the warm to cool. So they're in order of the color wheel. You can see I've got the yellow to orange to pink to red to purple to blue over to green. And then I got my whites and blacks off to the side. So what I want to tell you, though, is you do not have to have the exact same supplies I use. You got to use what you have. You may not have paint markers at home. Maybe you have some Crayola markers, which Crayola markers can blend just like these watercolor markers that I use. They are water-based, so you can use water with your Crayola markers or any water-based markers that you have. You might have highlighters at home. You might have colored pencils. You might have paint. You've got to really use what you have. You don't have to go out and spend all kinds of money. I'm just showing you what I use. I'm an artist and an art teacher, so I obviously have a lot of supplies laying around that I've collected over the years. And this is what I love using paint markers in my sketchbook and even on my final paintings. But use what you have. Be creative. So what I just did with this green marker, right? I picked a minty kind of green, a bright light green color. What I decided before I started coloring is that I wanted my letters to be warm colors. Warm colors is this side. Warm colors are your yellows, your oranges, your pinks, your reds. This side is warm colors. Your cool colors are your purples, blues, and greens. Okay? So since I knew I was going to do the letters warm, I decided to do my second outline. Your first outline is going to always be black. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to color the background, and I am going to use kind of a light blue kind of aqua color, and we'll go back to the fast forward. Okay, so we have got the background. All right, so we're going to use yellow, pink, and red is what I've decided to go with for social. I might do slightly different for the distance. So start with light on the top to dark on the bottom. So we're going to start with yellow. And this is a little bit more of a time-consuming process because I want to blend the colors. And I use my fingers to blend the colors together. And I'm not doing the 3D part. I'm just doing the inside part of the letters. And again, I'm not too concerned with going over the lines that I did. Oh, and look at that. My marker just exploded. You see that? So I'm just going to be very careful. We won't worry about that too much. That'll dry. I have had it happen where a marker totally explodes and ruins a whole drawing. That has happened before. But I have to go back and find some way to salvage it. So I have to go over it with white marker and then just do the whole thing. But you can see it just totally exploded in ink, which does happen sometime. So now I'm going to switch to my second color, which is pink. And I'm going to color right up next to that. And I'm going to let it touch this yellow. And I'm going to sort of blend it in together there. And I always just take my finger and I just blend it together slightly. There. So I like to use my fingers for blending. So we'll go down to pink. Just going to go to right about there. And from here, now I'm going to blend it in with red. Sorry, not yellow. We want red. And we're going to again color. And I'm going kind of quickly because I don't want these colors to dry. I want them to stay wet. So they'll blend a little bit just like that, but I like to take my finger and just very lightly blend them together. So now we'll go over here to this side and take my finger, blend them together. So you got to be really careful with these markers that you don't press down too hard. If the ink isn't flowing, you shake it up and kind of get it started on another sheet of paper. But I was pressing too hard up there, so I ended up just spilling yellow marker all over. So we're going to do the same thing with all the letters. We're going to start with yellow, then do orange, blend them together a little bit with the finger, then red, blend them together a little with the finger. So while I'm doing this, I will begin to fast forward again. Okay, so you can see I finished coloring the letters. They're a little funky looking. I've lost some of the detail in them. But all that was on purpose. I did the coloring first. Now I'm going to go back in and do the final outline with black. Then once I'm done with that, I might just add some words in tag in the background. When we did the graffiti unit this year, we talked about the difference between tag and throw letters. And of course, you'll remember tag means line. So they're just line letters, and throw means shape. So if you can color it in, it's throw. So these are throw letters, my social distance. So we got that outline done. Now I might want to just go back and add some final little details. So I want to throw some random just red lines in the background. So I'm adding in another outline. See, since I added that bright green and then that turquoise blue, they kind of look very similar. So I'm just throwing in some random lines in the background because I just feel like it needs it. I'm not too worried about being perfect, just throwing random lines in there. It kind of creates a sense of movement in the background as well. So I just threw some random lines in there. And then last thing we're going to do is I'm just going to throw in some tag words just as a finishing touch, and then I'm going to sign it and we'll be done. Let's see, we're just going to remember, tag lines are just lines. So there I wrote COVID-19. I threw that in there. I want to write a letter over here. So right there I just wrote like screaming. So I'm trying to convey sort of the stress that's going on in this time. We're all a little stressed out. We're all a little anxious with what's going on. And so I'm kind of, it helps to sometimes turn to art or music to kind of help with your anxiety or negative feelings. Just being creative in and of itself is such a meditative act, and it just feels great to do. So there I wrote anxiety. Add a little more to this one. And then we'll just go ahead and sign it. And again, I always do my my tag signature, which I developed when we were doing our whole unit on graffiti. I'm going to go over the top of his eyes real quick with a darker color. I think it's kind of cool that graffiti artists have their own code name and they use their own, they have their own signature. So mine looks like this. Oh no. And we had a little accident. No big deal. So that means we have to fix our little accident before we sign it. So you see how my marker exploded? That just shows you that sometimes stuff happens. Okay. All right, so we recovered from our little disaster there. That's happened to me before. Sometimes these markers, just the ink comes exploding out of them. It happens, but I covered it up with the blue background color again. No big deal. Redid some of the red. So now I'm going to do a couple little finishing details. So we did our little tag signature. My little tag, I don't know if you can see it there, my signature is Beej, B-E-E-J, which it just stands for, my dad actually used to call me Beej, and my friend Josh still calls me Beej, just a nickname from when I was a kid. So I think the last thing I need to do, I feel like these letters are a little too, the outlines are a little too solid. So I'm just going to go back in and throw just some random squiggly lines in. And then I might throw some little white lines in there. Just a little bit of detail. I just feel it needs something else. Not really that big of a deal. Just almost like texture lines. And then I'm going to go back in with a little bit of white. I want to give the sense of kind of frantic anxiety. So it's kind of what these lines do. Just create some movement and like a feeling. It's a nervous sort of drawing. But sometimes, you know, when you make artwork that expresses feelings that are not always so great, like anger or nervousness, anxiety, whatever, sadness. Sometimes doing artwork or writing a song or writing a poem actually helps you not feel so anxious or sad or whatever you were feeling before. So I think that about does it. I might throw a few highlights in these letters. I hope you enjoyed. I'm just going to throw a few little white highlights inside the letters. So I hope you enjoyed hanging out and just kind of watching me work. I thought it'd be kind of a cool thing to do since we're all cooped up inside. Both I get some artwork done, get some new ideas, and then you get to see how I work when I'm creating my own artwork. And hopefully, I know we did our unit on graffiti art, and we created quite a few pretty cool pieces when we were doing that. And I think this isn't necessarily an assignment, but if you want to be inspired by this video and maybe create your own social distancing or coronavirus themed artwork, however you're feeling, just start drawing. Just see what you come up with. Maybe think of an idea first and come up with something. There's never a right or wrong way to do this. So I would love to see some of the work you guys do at home and come up with your own ideas. So hope you enjoyed watching me work. This is my social distancing graffiti piece, and I'll see you down the road.